Is Lucifer the ultimate romantic rebel, or history's most dangerous manipulator? What if everything you've been told about the fallen angel is just scratching the surface of a cosmic love story gone wrong? The Bible tells us one version, but ancient texts hidden for centuries tell another. Today, we're diving deep into the most controversial relationship in spiritual history, one that has shaped how we view love, rebellion, and divine justice for thousands of years. Have you ever wondered why we're so fascinated with the forbidden? Why the bad boy archetype captivates us across cultures? The answer might be buried in our spiritual DNA. Connecting to a primordial story of cosmic passion and betrayal that mainstream religion has tried to suppress. Bereshit, in the beginning, there was more to this story than we've been told. From Milton's Paradise, lost to Netflix's modern interpretations, Lucifer's image has transformed dramatically through history. But what's the truth behind the mythology? What if the greatest deception wasn't Lucifer's fall, but how the story has been told to us? Let's explore this fascinating, controversial terrain together and uncover what's been hidden in plain sight all along. The name Lucifer evokes powerful imagery: the morning star, the light bringer, the most beautiful of all angels. But how did this fallen angel transform from the embodiment of evil into a romantic hero that captures our imagination? The journey begins in literature and art, where creative minds saw beyond the traditional narrative. John Milton's Paradise Lost revolutionized how we perceive Lucifer. Published in 1667, this epic poem portrays Satan not as a one-dimensional villain, but as a complex, charismatic rebel. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. These words resonated with readers who found themselves sympathizing with the fallen angel. Milton's Satan possesses nobility, courage, and determination, qualities we typically admire. He challenges authority, not out of pure evil, but from a place of wounded pride and desire for autonomy. This portrayal planted the seeds for a romantic reinterpretation that would flourish centuries later. The Romantic poets of the 19th century embraced Lucifer as a symbol of creative rebellion. William Blake wrote, "The reason Milton wrote in fetters, when he wrote of angels and God, and at liberty when of devils and hell, is because he was a true poet and of the devil's party without knowing it." Percy Bysshe Shelley and Lord Byron similarly championed Lucifer as the ultimate nonconformist, fighting against divine tyranny. They saw in him a reflection of their own artistic struggle against societal constraints. This wasn't blasphemy to them. It was honoring the spirit of individual freedom that drives human progress. In these artistic reinterpretations, Lucifer became the champion of human potential. His fall wasn't just about pride. It was about refusing to bow to arbitrary authority. As it says in Isaiah 14:3, "How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn." The very name, Lucifer, means light, bringer, and what is more romantic than bringing light to darkness? This perspective transforms his rebellion into a noble sacrifice for the sake of knowledge and freedom, the ultimate romantic gesture. The romantic Lucifer speaks to something deep within us, our yearning for autonomy, our admiration for those who stand by their principles regardless of consequences. Have you ever felt drawn to someone precisely because they refused to follow the crowd? There's something undeniably attractive about conviction and courage, even when it leads to downfall. This is the essence of Lucifer's romantic appeal, the beautiful rebel who dared to challenge the cosmic order. Turn on your television today, and you'll find Lucifer portrayed as the ultimate charmer. Netflix's hit series, Lucifer presents him as a handsome, charismatic nightclub owner with a British accent and impeccable style. He's witty, passionate, and surprisingly moral in his own way. This isn't your grandmother's devil. This is Lucifer reimagined for a generation that questions traditional religious narratives. What makes this modern Lucifer so appealing? He embodies freedom from shame. In a world where many feel constrained by religious guilt or societal expectations, Lucifer represents liberation. Tell me, what is it you truly desire? His character asks repeatedly in the show, encouraging others to embrace their authentic selves. This resonates powerfully with viewers who feel trapped by convention or judgment. The romantic Lucifer doesn't condemn human desire. He celebrates it as the essence of free will. This portrayal taps into our cultural fascination with redemption stories. Can the ultimate fallen angel find love and forgiveness? Can someone defined by rebellion eventually find peace? These questions drive the narrative and keep audiences invested. The romantic Lucifer isn't static. He's on a journey of self-discovery that mirrors our own search for meaning and connection. Music, art, and literature continue to explore this romantic interpretation. From rock bands like the Rolling Stones singing sympathy for the devil to contemporary novels reimagining Lucifer's fall, popular culture has embraced the complexity of this figure. The romantic Lucifer has become a powerful archetype. The outsider who questions authority, the beautiful rebel who pays the price for freedom, the lover who understands human desire because he himself has wanted what was forbidden. But this romanticization isn't without controversy. Many religious leaders warn that it trivializes evil and distorts Scripture. They point to Revelation 12:9, which describes that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. From this perspective, portraying Lucifer as romantic isn't just inaccurate, it's dangerous, potentially leading people away from faith and towards spiritual peril. Yet the popularity of the romantic Lucifer persists, suggesting it fulfills something missing in traditional religious narratives. In a world that values authenticity and questions hierarchical authority, Lucifer's rebellion resonates as an act of courage rather than sin. His story speaks to our desire for agency in shaping our own destiny. Any Memin, I believe that there's profound significance in why this interpretation continues to captivate us across generations. Why are we drawn to the dangerous and forbidden? The bad boy archetype has dominated romantic narratives throughout history, from Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights to modern film anti-heroes. Lucifer represents the ultimate bad boy, beautiful, powerful, and fundamentally dangerous. This attraction isn't random. It's rooted in psychological patterns that reveal much about human nature. Evolutionary psychology suggests we're sometimes attracted to rebellious traits because they signal strength, confidence, and genetic fitness. The individual who can challenge the established order demonstrates courage and capability, qualities that might benefit offspring. This doesn't mean we consciously want a destructive partner, but rather that certain rebellious qualities trigger ancient attraction patterns. The romantic Lucifer embodies these traits in their most extreme form, supernatural beauty, combined with the ultimate rebellion. There's also the allure of the redemptive love story. Many romantic narratives feature the idea that love can transform even the most hardened heart. We see this in countless stories, Beauty and the Beast, the Phantom of the Opera, and yes, modern portrayals of Lucifer. The fantasy that our love could be powerful enough to redeem the unredeemable is intoxicating. It elevates romantic love to a spiritual force capable of cosmic transformation. Isn't there something profoundly moving about the idea that love could redeem even the first fallen angel? The forbidden aspect adds intensity to the attraction. In Genesis 2:17, God commands Adam and Eve not to eat from the tree of knowledge, saying, "For when you eat from it you will certainly die." Yet, the prohibition itself creates curiosity and desire. Similarly, the taboo nature of romanticizing Lucifer creates a psychological tension that heightens emotional investment. We're drawn to what we're told we cannot or should not have. It's a pattern as old as Eden itself. For many, the romantic Lucifer represents the shadow aspects of ourselves that we're afraid to acknowledge. Carl Jung wrote extensively about the shadow, those parts of ourselves we repress or deny. By projecting these qualities onto a romantic figure like Lucifer, we can explore them from a safe distance. There's liberation in acknowledging our own rebellious impulses, our questioning of authority, our desire for knowledge regardless of consequences. The romantic Lucifer gives us permission to examine these aspects of ourselves without fully embracing them. This psychological appeal crosses cultural boundaries. From ancient trickster gods to modern anti-heroes, humans have always been fascinated by figures who operate outside conventional morality. The romantic Lucifer is part of this tradition, a figure who challenges us to question our assumptions about good and evil, obedience and freedom, love and desire. His appeal isn't just about rebellion for its own sake, but about the deeper questions his story forces us to confront. What if Lucifer's fall wasn't about evil, but about love? Some ancient Gnostic texts present a radically different interpretation of Lucifer than mainstream Christianity. In these alternative narratives, Lucifer rebels not from pride, but from love for humanity, refusing to bow before Adam, not out of arrogance, but because he saw the divine spark within humans and believed they deserved freedom rather than blind obedience. The Nag Hammadi Library, discovered in Egypt in 1945, contains texts that challenge conventional religious narratives. Some of these suggest that the true sin of the serpent in Eden was offering knowledge that certain divine powers wanted to withhold from humanity. As it says in Genesis 3:25, the serpent tells Eve that God knows that when you eat from it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. From this perspective, Lucifer becomes a Prometheus figure, bringing divine fire to humanity despite knowing he'll suffer eternal punishment. The Jewish mystical tradition of Kabbalah offers yet another perspective. In some Kabbalistic interpretations, Lucifer represents the Sephira of Jebira, divine severity and judgment that exists in necessary balance with divine mercy. His fall creates the possibility for free will and genuine love, as true love can only exist where there's the freedom to choose otherwise. Without the option to reject God, can devotion be meaningful? This view transforms Lucifer's rebellion into a necessary cosmic event that enables authentic spiritual development. Some modern spiritual movements have embraced these alternative interpretations. They see Lucifer not as the embodiment of evil, but as a symbol of enlightenment, questioning, and spiritual autonomy. The very name Lucifer means light, bringer, or morning star, hardly the name of a being of pure darkness. In Revelation 2:2-3:16, Jesus himself is called the bright morning star, a fascinating parallel that raises questions about the relationship between these figures. These alternative interpretations don't deny Lucifer's rebellion, but reframe its meaning. Was it truly evil to question divine authority? Or was it the first assertion of the free will that makes us human? In John 8:232, Jesus says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." If truth and freedom are divine values, then Lucifer's quest for autonomy takes on new significance. Perhaps his real transgression was not rebellion itself, but the methods he chose, deception rather than honest questioning. Of course, these interpretations remain highly controversial. Many theologians point to passages like 2 Corinthians 103:14, which warns that Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light, suggesting that any positive portrayal of Lucifer is itself a deception. The debate continues across spiritual traditions, with no clear consensus. What's undeniable is that these alternative narratives have influenced how Lucifer is portrayed in art, literature, and popular culture, contributing to his romantic image as a misunderstood rebel rather than a one-dimensional villain. Let's shift perspective now. While the romantic Lucifer captivates our imagination, there's a darker interpretation with deep biblical roots. This view sees Lucifer not as a noble rebel, but as the ultimate manipulator who uses love as a weapon. His greatest deception may be convincing us that his motives are romantic rather than destructive. The biblical account in Genesis 3 portrays the serpent, traditionally associated with Lucifer, using subtle manipulation rather than force. He doesn't compel Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. He questions God's motives. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? This is classic manipulation, creating doubt about someone's intentions to undermine trust. He follows with a promise of enlightenment: "You will be like God, knowing good and evil." The serpent offers what appears to be love, the gift of knowledge, but his true intent is destruction. This pattern of deceptive love continues throughout biblical accounts of satanic influence. In Matthew 4:1-11, Satan tempts Jesus in the wilderness, offering him power, sustenance, and protection armuse. These could be seen as expressions of care, but they're designed to derail Jesus' mission. The manipulative Lucifer doesn't present himself as evil. He presents himself as helpful, caring, even loving, while leading toward destruction. As 1 Peter 5:8 warns, Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Modern psychology recognizes this pattern as love bombing, an abuse tactic where the manipulator showers their target with excessive affection and attention to gain control. The initial stage feels like intense romance, but it's a calculated strategy to create dependency. The manipulative Lucifer employs cosmic love bombing, offering knowledge, freedom, and power that appear loving but create separation from authentic divine connection. In this interpretation, Lucifer's rebellion wasn't romantic at all. It was the first instance of gaslighting. He convinced a third of heaven's angels to follow him by distorting reality and questioning God's authority. Ezekiel 28:17 describes this fall: your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. The manipulative Lucifer uses his beauty and charm not to express authentic love, but to control and corrupt. This darker interpretation appears throughout history in accounts of demonic possession and spiritual warfare. Those who claim direct experience with demonic forces consistently report feeling initially loved, understood, and empowered, only to find themselves trapped in destructive patterns. The manipulative Lucifer doesn't announce his true nature. He presents himself as the answer to our deepest longings. As 2 Corinthians 1:14 states, Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. What makes this interpretation particularly disturbing is how it mirrors abusive relationships in human experience. The cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard that characterizes many abusive relationships parallels the spiritual manipulation attributed to Lucifer. He offers what appears to be perfect love, while systematically destroying the capacity for authentic connection. Hazak Vimats, be strong and courageous, for recognizing this pattern may be our greatest protection. If we examine Lucifer as a manipulator, his tactics become disturbingly familiar to anyone who has studied psychological abuse. The first and perhaps most powerful is isolation. In the Garden of Eden narrative, the serpent approaches Eve when she's alone, separated from both Adam and God. This is no accident. Isolation makes manipulation easier by removing protective influences. Similarly, spiritual deception often begins by separating people from faith communities or loved ones who might recognize the manipulation. The second tactic is exploiting insecurity. The serpent's famous question, "Did God really say?" targets potential insecurity about God's instructions and motives. The manipulative Lucifer doesn't create insecurities. He identifies existing ones and exploits them. In Job 1:9-11, Satan questions Job's motives. Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? This tactic undermines confidence in relationships by suggesting hidden agendas where none exist. Third is the promise of secret knowledge or special status. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. This offer appeals to the human desire for significance and insider information. The manipulative Lucifer positions himself as the exclusive source of enlightenment that others are trying to withhold. We see this pattern in cults and abusive relationships where the manipulator claims to offer special wisdom or status unavailable elsewhere. Fourth is intermittent reinforcement. unpredictable patterns of reward and punishment that create powerful psychological bonds. Biblical accounts suggest Satan sometimes offers immediate rewards for disobedience, like the apparent wisdom gained in Eden, while other times bringing swift consequences. This unpredictability creates a trauma bond more powerful than consistent negative treatment would. The target becomes focused on regaining the manipulator's approval rather than escaping the relationship. Fifth is gaslighting, making the target question their own reality and judgment. After Eve eats the fruit and experiences shame, the serpent is notably absent, leaving her to question her own decision-making. The manipulative Lucifer creates confusion about what is real, what is right, and who is responsible. As Jesus says in John 8:44, "The devil was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies." Perhaps most insidiously, the manipulative Lucifer presents himself as the victim. In various traditions, he portrays his rebellion as a response to unfair treatment, positioning himself as fighting for justice rather than power. This false victimhood obscures his role as the aggressor and confuses moral clarity. It's a tactic familiar to those who've dealt with manipulative personalities who claim, "Look what you made me do," while inflicting harm. These tactics aren't random. They form a systematic approach to gaining control through false expressions of love. Recognizing them requires both spiritual discernment and psychological awareness. As Ephesians 6:11 advises, put on the full armor of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. The first defense against manipulation is recognizing its patterns. The dual image of Lucifer, romantic rebel versus manipulative deceiver, has profoundly shaped Western culture. John Milton's Paradise Lost marks a crucial turning point in this cultural evolution. Published in 1667, Milton's epic poem portrays Satan with unprecedented complexity and charisma. His famous line, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven," has become a rallying cry for individualism and rebellion against authority. Milton didn't intend to glorify Satan. He was a deeply religious man attempting to justify the ways of God to men, yet his powerful characterization inadvertently created sympathy for the devil. This sympathetic portrayal gained momentum during the Romantic era, when poets like William Blake declared Milton was of the devil's party without knowing it. The Romantics embraced Lucifer as a symbol of creative rebellion against stifling conventions. Percy Bysshe Shelley's Prometheus Unbound reimagined the myth of the fire bringer, a Lucifer parallel, as a hero fighting divine tyranny. Lord Byron's works similarly celebrated the Luciferian spirit of defiance against arbitrary authority. These artistic interpretations weren't necessarily religious statements, but reflections on human freedom and creative autonomy. The 20th century brought Lucifer into popular culture through music, film, and literature. The Rolling Stones' sympathy for the devil invited listeners to consider Satan's perspective with its opening line, "Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste." Heavy metal music often incorporated Luciferian imagery, sometimes as shock value, but often as a symbol of questioning authority. These cultural expressions weren't promoting devil worship, but using Lucifer as a metaphor for challenging the status quo. Contemporary television has further complicated this cultural image. Shows like Lucifer present the fallen angel as a complex, charming character seeking redemption through human connection. This portrayal resonates with modern audiences who value moral complexity over black and white judgments. At the same time, films like The Devil's Advocate and Constantine emphasize Lucifer's manipulative nature, portraying him as seductive, but ultimately destructive. These contrasting representations reflect our cultural ambivalence about rebellion, authority, and the nature of evil. Social media has amplified both perspectives, with online communities dedicated to exploring Lucifer's romantic appeal alongside religious groups warning against such romanticization. TikTok videos celebrating Lucifer as a misunderstood rebel gain millions of views, while YouTube sermons about satanic deception reach similar audiences. This cultural conversation isn't merely academic. It reflects deeper questions about authority, freedom, and spiritual discernment in the digital age. The impact extends beyond entertainment into how we understand love itself. The romantic Lucifer represents passionate love that defies convention, while the manipulative Lucifer embodies toxic relationships disguised as romance. Our cultural fascination with both aspects reveals our complex relationship with love. We desire both the intensity of passion and the security of healthy boundaries. As Proverbs 402:3 advises, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Our cultural portrayals of Lucifer reflect this ongoing struggle to distinguish between authentic love and dangerous infatuation. Let's examine what the Bible actually says about Lucifer, setting aside cultural interpretations to focus on the text itself. Surprisingly, the name Lucifer appears only once in the King James Version of the Bible, in Isaiah 14:1-21. "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" Modern translations typically render this as morning star or day star rather than using the name Lucifer. The passage describes the fall of the king of Babylon, though it has traditionally been interpreted as also referring to Satan's fall from heaven. The most detailed biblical accounts of Satan's rebellion appear in Ezekiel 28 and Revelation 12. Ezekiel 28:20-19, while directly addressing the king of Tyre, is widely understood to also describe Satan's fall. "You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. You were anointed as a guardian cherub. You were blameless in your ways from the day. You were created till wickedness was found in you." This passage suggests Satan was originally perfect, beautiful, and had a high position before his fall. Revelation 12:7-9 describes the cosmic war. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. This account emphasizes conflict, rather than romantic rebellion, portraying Satan as a deceiver who leads others astray. Jesus' words about Satan are particularly revealing. In John 8:44, he states, "You belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth. For there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. This characterization directly contradicts romantic portrayals, emphasizing deception rather than noble rebellion. The serpent in Genesis 3, traditionally identified with Satan, operates through manipulation rather than force. He questions God's motives, and did God really say? And promises knowledge while concealing consequences. This aligns more with the manipulative interpretation than the romantic one, as 2 Corinthians 11:3 states, "But I am afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the serpent's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your sincere and pure devotion to Christ." Interestingly, the Bible does acknowledge Satan's beauty and power. Ezekiel 28:17 states, "Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor." This suggests Satan's appeal isn't imaginary. He was created with genuine beauty and wisdom that became corrupted. This may explain why romantic portrayals resonate despite contradicting other biblical descriptions. The biblical evidence, taken as a whole, presents Satan Lucifer primarily as a deceiver rather than a romantic hero. However, it also acknowledges his original beauty and high position, creating space for the complexity we see in cultural interpretations. As 2 Corinthians 11:4-13 warns, Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. This suggests the romantic portrayal may itself be part of the deception, a beautiful disguise concealing darker intentions. Beyond the canonical Bible lie ancient texts that offer alternative perspectives on Lucifer. The Nag Hammadi Library, discovered in Egypt in 1945, contains Gnostic texts dating back to the 2nd and 3rd century CE. Some of these present radically different interpretations of the divine hierarchy and the figure we know as Lucifer. In certain Gnostic texts, the creator God of the Old Testament is portrayed not as the true God, but as a lower deity called the Demiurge, who created the immaterial world as a prison for divine sparks of light trapped in human bodies. In this cosmology, the serpent in Eden becomes a heroic figure who offers knowledge that can free humans from ignorance imposed by the Demiurge. The testimony of truth from the Nag Hammadi collection states, "The serpent wiser than all the animals that were in paradise. It is he who opened the eyes of Adam." This inverts the traditional interpretation, casting Lucifer as a liberator rather than a deceiver. The Book of Enoch, while not included in most biblical canons, but referenced in the New Testament book of Jude, provides extensive details about fallen angels. It describes the Watcher's angels who desired human women and came to earth, teaching humans forbidden knowledge. This text blurs the lines between romantic desire and manipulation, suggesting angels fell through genuine attraction to humanity, but brought destructive consequences through their actions. Jewish midrashic literature offers additional perspectives. Some midrashim suggest Lucifer's refusal to bow before Adam came from theological principle rather than pride. He believed worship should be reserved for God alone. The Midrash Rabbah states, "When the Holy One, blessed be He, created the first man, the ministering angels mistook him for a divine being and wish to exclaim holy before him. In this interpretation, Lucifer's rebellion stems from zealous monotheism, rather than jealousy or ambition. The Dead Sea Scrolls, particularly the War Scroll, elaborate on cosmic conflict between the sons of light and the sons of darkness, led by Belial, another name associated with Satan. These texts emphasize the ongoing spiritual warfare, but present it as a balanced cosmic struggle rather than a simple case of good versus evil. This nuanced view suggests both sides possess partial truth, a perspective that resonates with more romantic interpretations of Lucifer's rebellion. Islamic traditions about Iblis, at the Islamic equivalent of Satan, offer yet another perspective. In the Quran, Iblis refuses to bow to Adam not from hatred, but from what he perceives as devotion to Allah. I am better than him? Thou didst create me from fire, and him from clay. Quran 7 Kliwal Tor. This portrays the fall as resulting from misguided religious zeal rather than pure malice, a tragic error rather than deliberate evil. These alternative texts don't necessarily validate romantic portrayals of Lucifer, but they do complicate the narrative. They suggest the relationship between divine beings, humans, and cosmic rebellion may be more complex than traditional interpretations allow. As the ancient Hebrew wisdom text Pirkei Avot advises, turn it, and turn it again, for everything is in it. The multiplicity of interpretations invites us to consider whether our understanding of Lucifer has been limited by focusing on select texts while ignoring others. Of course, many religious authorities reject these alternative texts precisely because they contradict canonical scripture. Orthodox Christianity, Judaism, and Islam generally maintain that these texts were excluded from canon for good reason. They contain false teachings that could lead believers astray. 2 Peter 2:1 warns, there were also false prophets among the people, just as there will be false teachers among you. They will secretly introduce destructive heresies. The question remains, do these ancient texts preserve lost truths about Lucifer, or do they represent early theological errors? The answer likely depends on one's view of religious authority and canonical formation. What's undeniable is that these texts have influenced cultural portrayals of Lucifer throughout history, contributing to the romantic rebel image that persists alongside the biblical deceiver. The attraction to dangerous or forbidden love isn't unique to Lucifer narratives. It's a psychological pattern that appears across cultures and throughout history. Understanding this attraction helps explain why the romantic Lucifer resonates so powerfully despite biblical warnings. Psychologists identify several factors that contribute to attraction to dangerous partners. First is the misinterpretation of intensity as intimacy. Relationships with high emotional volatility, extreme highs and lows, can feel more significant.